This movie's story of a young psychotic girl falls in love with a 28-year-old man. How far she is willing to go to get him is something we discover as the movie progresses. So let's begin the film. At the start, we are introduced to Nick, a 28-year-old writer. He has recently moved to Washington because of his job. He is looking for a place to stay, so he visits Mr. and Mrs. Forrester to see their guest house. Mrs. Forrester shows him the place. Nick really likes it and decides to move in. Then we are introduced to Mrs. Forrester's daughter, Adrian, who is 14 years old. When Nick moves into the house, Adrian is secretly watching him from below the house with her friend. This makes it clear that Adrian is already attracted to him. She sends her friend Christine to talk to Nick. Christine meets him and later tells Adrian that Nick is very handsome. The next day, when Nick goes to work, his boss assigns him to write an article about a criminal named Robert. Another writer named Amy is working with him on this project. It is important to mention that Amy is not just his colleague, she is also his girlfriend. Later, while Nick is cleaning his car, Adrian comes over and starts talking to him. They have a conversation, and gradually a friendly connection begins to form between them. That same night, while Nick is working on his article about Robert, Adrian comes to visit him again. She starts flirting with him. Nick tells her about the article and explains that Robert was a very famous criminal, which Adrian already knew about. They continued talking for some time, and then Adrian leaves and goes back home. The next day, while Nick is taking a shower, Adrian enters his house. She sees an old photograph from his childhood and asks if she can keep it. Nick refuses because it is the only copy he has. Before leaving, Adrian invites him to a party at her house. Later, Nick goes to his office with the article he has written. Before showing it to his boss, he reads it again and notices that many changes have been made, changes he did not make himself. When he shows the article to his boss is extremely impressed and praises his work. That night, Nick attends the party at Adrian's house. Adrian is playing the piano at the party. After some time, she meets Nick and admits that she was the one who made the changes to his article. Nick becomes upset, but Adrian tells her she was only trying to help. After the party, Adrian takes Nick to a lighthouse, a place she really loves. They talk for a long time. During their conversation, Adrian suddenly kisses him. At first, Nick does not react, but then he realizes how wrong this is. He immediately stops her and takes her back home. The next day, Nick is spending time with Amy when Adrian shows up. Nick introduces Amy to Adrian. Seeing Nick with Amy makes Adrian extremely jealous. Later, while Nick is attending a party with his office colleagues, Adrian also meets Amy there. While Adrian is talking to Amy, Amy quickly realizes from the way Adrian speaks that she has strong feelings for Nick. Later, Amy tells Nick about it. Nick does not react much. He believes it is just childish behavior and thinks Adrian is simply being immature. Later, while working, Nick notices that his childhood photo is missing. He searches his entire house, but he cannot find it. He starts suspecting that Adrian might have taken it because she had asked him about that photo before. With that suspicion, he goes to Adrian's house. At that time, Adrian is alone. Nick enters the house and starts looking for the photo. He eventually reaches her bedroom and searches there too, but he still cannot find it. Suddenly, Adrian comes out of the bathroom. Hearing her, Nick quickly hides inside her closet. Adrian realizes that Nick is hiding there. She turns toward the closet and deliberately starts changing her clothes, knowing he is watching. After some time, she leaves the room. Nick takes the opportunity and escapes from her bedroom, but as soon as he reaches the front gate, he finds Adrian's father standing outside. Her father asks Nick what he is doing there. Nick lies and says he came to return a book he had borrowed from Adrian. Her father takes him upstairs and shows him an old swing from Adrian's childhood that he is restoring. During this time, Adrian comes there too. Her father asks Adrian which book Nick returned. Adrian immediately understands that Nick lied to protect himself, so she supports his lie and randomly names a book. Seeing this, Nick realizes how deeply Adrian feels about him. Later, when Adrian is alone, Nick decides to talk to her seriously. He tells her clearly that they can never be in a relationship. He explains that she is 14 and he is 28 and that it is impossible for them to be together. Adrian listens to him but reacts casually. She looks at him in a seductive way and reminds him that he kissed her at the lighthouse. She also mentions that he secretly watched her while she was changing clothes. She asks why he did those things if he doesn't have feelings for her. Nick has no answer. He stays silent and leaves. The next day, Nick shows Amy his car, which he recently renovated, but when he removes the cover, he sees that someone has written an abusive word across the front of the car. He becomes furious. He immediately suspects Adrian. He goes to her house and complains to her father. When her father questions Adrian, she denies everything. Nick has no proof, so he can do nothing. He is left covering the damage himself. While he is doing that, Adrian's friend Christine approaches him. She tells him she needs to talk about something important about Adrian and asks him to meet her at a secret location. While Nick and Christine are talking, Adrian secretly watches them from above. On the other side, Nick is waiting at the location where Christine had asked him to meet her. Even after waiting for a long time, Christine never shows up. Nick decides to leave, but as he turns around, he sees Adrian standing there. Adrian then tells him about Christine, pretending to explain things in her own way. A few days later, Nick submits his interview with Robert at his office, but he discovers that someone has deleted the entire interview file. He rushes back home and checks his computer, hoping to recover the backup file, but he finds that his computer has been completely formatted. Nick immediately understands that Adrian is behind this. Furious, he decides to leave the house permanently. While packing, Nick discovers a hidden room inside the house. When he enters, he sees candles everywhere, and in the middle of them are multiple photos of himself. This terrifies him. He immediately seals the room and changes all the locks in his house so Adrian cannot enter again. After this, Nick works hard to recreate the interview from scratch. Meanwhile, Adrian keeps calling and messaging him repeatedly, but Nick ignores her. This makes Adrian extremely angry and desperate. After finishing his work, Nick finds a new place to live and begins packing his belongings. That night, Amy comes over and the two of them become intimate. Later, while Nick and Amy are sleeping together in bed, Adrian is standing there secretly watching them. Seeing this fills her with rage.
The next morning, Amy sees Adrian standing near her car. Amy tries to explain things calmly and tells Adrian that she is not truly in love with Nick, but only attracted to him, and that when she grows older, she will find someone else. After saying this, Amy leaves. Adrian follows her. Amy goes into a room to develop some photographs. Adrian secretly locks the door from outside and releases a swarm of bees inside the room. The bees sting Amy repeatedly, and her condition becomes critical. She struggles to break the window and eventually collapses unconscious. Later, Nick finds out about this incident. Around the same time, Adrian comes to Nick again and invites him to watch her horse riding competition. But Nick does not attend because he is busy at an event with his office colleagues. When Adrian realizes he did not come, she becomes furious and goes directly to the event. In front of everyone, she slaps Nick. Everyone starts staring at him. Nick pulls her aside and warns her firmly to stay away from him and tells her to go home. After the event, Nick goes to finalize his new house, but the owner refuses to rent it to him. Adrian had already told them that Nick was a drug dealer. When Nick returns home, he sees police officers waiting outside. They arrest him. Adrian and her father are also there. Adrian is crying, and her father tries to attack Nick. The reason is shocking. Adrian has filed a complaint accusing Nick of child sexual assault. At the police station, Nick tries to explain that he has done nothing wrong, but the officers tell him that his semen was found on Adrian's body. In reality, the night Nick and Amy were intimate, Adrian had secretly taken the used protection from the trash. That is how his DNA ended up being used against him. However, his boss arranges his bail because he believes Nick could never do something like that. Nick returns home and starts packing his belongings so he can leave the house for good. At that moment, Christine comes to see him. She tells Nick that Adrian may not be mentally stable. She explains that Adrian once fell deeply in love with another boy, but when he rejected him, he died a few days later after consuming poison. Christine says she strongly suspects Adrian was responsible for it. She also tells Nick that Adrian keeps a diary where she writes everything. If Nick can find that diary, he might be able to prove his innocence. But Nick is mentally exhausted and does not want to involve himself in any more trouble. He tells Christine to go home. However, Christine does not leave. Instead, she goes to Adrian's house. After some time, Nick hears Christine screaming. He immediately runs toward Adrian's house. When he enters, Adrian sees him and confesses her love, telling him that she loves him. Nick ignores her and starts searching for Christine. This makes Adrian furious. She suddenly attacks him from behind, causing him to fall down the stairs. At that moment, Adrian's father arrives. Seeing him, Adrian and Nick move into another room, the same room where her father had been restoring her childhood swing. Christine is there, trapped. Adrian attacks Nick again, and a violent struggle begins between them. Adrian's father comes upstairs and sees the fight. He immediately starts beating Nick. Seeing Nick being beaten, Adrian becomes extremely angry. She suddenly turns on her own father and attacks him, beating him until he loses consciousness. During the chaos, Nick manages to punch Adrian, knocking her unconscious. He then frees Christine. In the final scene, Adrian is shown inside a mental hospital. She is writing a letter to Nick apologizing. Meanwhile, Nick is with his girlfriend, Amy, trying to move on with his life. He begins receiving multiple letters, all sent by Adrian. In the very last scene, Adrian is staring closely at a photograph of her doctor. It becomes clear that she has now developed feelings for him too. And with that, the movie comes to an end.